Oh, shoot. I overslept. Oh, I think I have an episode of a high five. I got it. Oh, boy. I'm sound asleep there. Oh, it's our sleep episode. High five fitness, sleep. Sleep and recovery is an important part of fitness. Something we often don't get enough of. With me on this episode is a sleep expert, Sina. Sina, is it important for me to get enough sleep? And what is enough sleep? Welcome to High Five Fitness.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. Is it important? Only if you care about muscle repair, memory consolidation, emotional regulation, creativity, anything like that, and immune system perhaps, then it's probably pretty important.
Well, let's start off at the beginning. What is enough sleep for a person?
So most adults need between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Some people need more, some people need less, but about 98% of people will fall in that 7 to 9 hour range.
Well, we have some fitness experts and they work out with us, but they're busy people. They don't have 7 to 9 hours to sleep. So a lot of viewers don't have 9 hours to sleep. What do you do?
So there's two kind of big components with sleep. Everybody knows about the quantity. So everybody talks about how many hours of sleep they got. The other portion of it, which is equally as important, is the quality of the sleep. So if you have a maximum of 7 hours, I would still try to find time to get that, up toward the 8 or 9 hours. But if you absolutely can't, I would say let's make sure that the quality of sleep that you are getting is good.
So can I get, how about 5 hours of good sleep?
So this is a common
sound sleep.
So a lot of people, friends, family members, that's one of the most common things. They say, hey, Sina, if I get more, less sleep, I have more time during the day.
Yeah.
The response that I have for that, and sleep researchers would tell you, is that, sleep has fought its way through the evolutionary process vehemently. So it's here for a reason. We're designed to spend about a third of our lives asleep. So you can try to, whittle that down, but over the longer term, that might have consequences.
Yeah, a third of our life, that's a pretty big chunk of time.
Yeah.
How did you know so much about sleep?
So about 12 years ago, I was lucky enough to get a sleep study, and it turned out that I had a mild sleep disorder. And
what's a sleep study?
So that's when you go, so if you suspect that there might be something going on with your sleep, or if your doctor suspects that there might be a problem, you go to a lab and you stay overnight, and they measure everything you can possibly measure about your sleep.
So what did they find?
So in my case, I had a mild case of sleep apnea, and that's one of the over 80 sleep disorders that exist. And it was the first and only time I was diagnosed with anything. So I was like, what do you mean? What's apnea? So I went and researched the heck out of it, and that started my journey into the sleep world.
So I think let's break it down. We've got a lot of viewers out there we've got a couple categories. We've got a lot of people that are looking to get healthier and fitter, and then we also have the athletes that are looking to compete better and are already at a very high level. What would you recommend for both of those groups of people?
So I'll start with the athletes. There's some great studies done out of Stanford where you might have heard about these. They took the basketball team and they split them. It's really cool. They split them into two groups, and one of them they gave a shorter amount of sleep, and the other one they made them stay in bed for 10 hours. And then they measured their shooting accuracy, and the ones that got more sleep, they improved their shooting accuracy by 10%. So 10% might not sound like a lot, but with a coach...
Oh, yeah, when you're in a competitive game, 10% is huge.
Yeah, so that's the basketball team. They also did studies on the football team, and there's lots of other stuff. It improves cardiovascular function by also around 10 or 11% to get... And that's just the quantity of sleep.
So let's talk a minute about the competitive athlete, someone who's really training a lot. They do need recovery, but 7 hours of sleep enough? What do they need?
So again, every individual is going to be different. Even if you're a competitive athlete, your body might require 9 hours. Some people need 10 hours. And there are ways to figure out how much your body requires. And
how do you figure it out?
So you need about 5 days where you don't have to wake up at a certain time.
Well, that sounds like a vacation.
Either on vacation or, pretty much that's the only time. So what you do is you go to bed whenever you're tired, and you make a note of it, and you do not set an alarm.
Yeah.
And you wake up, and then you make a note of the wake-up time. and you do that after about 5 days, your body will kind of revert to what your body wants.
I'm already going to guess, though, for a lot of people in the winter, you're going to sleep longer because the sun doesn't get up until, I mean, the days are longer. I'm sorry, the days are shorter, the nights are longer. So is it natural to sleep more in winter?
That's a great question. I'm not sure that anybody has studied, are we supposed to sleep longer or less? But we do know that, our bodies and our brain responds to light very much. That's the strongest tool and cue that our body and brain has to know like when it's time to be alert. So before there was incandescent lighting or artificial lighting, people would go to bed when it was dark because there's nothing to do.
Now we can look at our phones or computers or tablets and other devices. Let's get on that topic in a moment. But what else can competitive athletes do to improve their quality of sleep? Should I be warm milk at night? I mean, is there certain foods they should be having? Dark rooms or...
So those are all in the category of what sleep professionals call sleep hygiene.
Yeah.
And we can definitely talk about those. Before we do that, I would recommend ruling out sleep disorders, just because it's so common. 70 million Americans, according to the CDC, have a clinical sleep disorder. So that includes bodybuilders, that includes athletes.
Okay, how would I know if I have a sleep disorder?
So great question.
I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night. I'll toss and turn once in a while, and other times I sleep pretty sound.
So the golden rule is, do you feel refreshed when you wake up? If you are waking up and you're ready to go, everything's great, then you're probably getting quality sleep. If you have a sleep disorder, you're probably going to wake up feeling a little tired, and you'll probably be tired during the day.
I did notice something a little strange, though. When I'm really getting ready for a comp, I'm training quite a few hours a day, and I'm on a restricted diet, I noticed you kind of get an adrenaline rush. So it's easy to wake up in the morning, even though you're not fully refreshed. Am I imagining that, or is there something to that where you can be overtraining essentially and have an adrenaline?
There's definitely, I would say that's probably in the kind of the emotional and psychological component. So yeah, you got something on your mind that can cause you to wake up and be ready to go. It can also, if people have, projects at work or they got whatever going on, that's definitely a big aspect, and it's not surprising at all.
So is that a sleep disorder if someone's got a lot of stress at work or something big coming up and they're not sleeping?
A general sort of rule of thumb is if it lasts 1 month or longer, then that can be considered something more serious than a passing thing.
Okay, so let's go back. So what can people do to improve their sleep?
So assuming they've ruled out sleep disorders, they can practice good sleep hygiene. So you want your room to be dark, really, really dark. You want it to be cool.
Should I be taking a cold shower before bed or hot bath? I mean, what's
question.
the tips?
So yeah, a warm bath, actually, it's interesting because the water is warm, your body works to cool itself down, and it actually overcompensates. So it overshoots the target for your temperature. So a warm bath will cool you down. And interestingly, a cool core body temperature is conducive to better sleep. So a warm bath will make you cooler, which will make you sleep better. About 30 minutes before bed, it's a good part of a bedtime routine.
And a cold shower in the morning?
That's personal preference. If you can handle it, more power to you.
Hey, you burn more fat when you take a long, cold shower.
Yeah.
So what are some other pointers? Should people be taking melatonin? What's your thoughts?
Melatonin, there's books written on it. It's a big topic.
Yes.
So I would just point out that your brain produces it naturally. So if you are habitually feeding, melatonin with a pill, your brain might start to think, well, maybe I don't need to produce it.
So people should cycle it, basically.
Or
use it when you need it.
Yeah, when you need it, and also check with your physician for sure. And then the other thing is, that will absolutely have an impact.
Now, you're not a physician, but you work with a team of physicians? Or
Correct.
You have a team that works for you?
Correct. Yeah, I'm not a physician, but I work with a bunch of them, so I've kind of absorbed a lot of their knowledge over the years.
Well, thank you for sharing it with me.
Yeah.
Now, let's go to the general population, away from the super fit athlete, competitive athlete. What tips do you have for the general population?
Well, if I was going to summarize it, I would say prioritize sleep. It's real easy to overlook because it's invisible. And
well, I think it's easy for both competitive athletes and normal people to be overlooking. So how do you overlook it?
People.
Or how do you get over overlooking sleep?
So you can, there's carrots and sticks, right? So we can talk about the positive stuff that you get from better sleep, which includes your muscles are being repaired, your memories are being consolidated, creativity is being enhanced, your immune system is that's when it rebuilds itself. So that's kind of the positive stuff. On the negative side, if you shortchange yourself from sleep, or if you've got a sleep disorder, over the years, that can and does have consequences. And we're talking about heart disease, stroke, all kinds of cognitive function difficulties. So lots of implications from sleep.
So should everyone out there be asking their doctor, do I have a sleep disorder? Is that when you go in for your annual checkup, is that something people should be asking?
So it's a great question. So, given the fact that 70 million Americans do have a sleep disorder, statistically, people watching the show, there's a good chance that either themselves or somebody they know has one. So it can't hurt. Again, I would say the golden rule is if they're waking up feeling tired, or if they're tired during the day, it's probably worth investigating.
Well, my question too, okay, someone's tired from the day, but is that due to a bad diet? Is that due to, a lot of people are sitting, they're not moving, so their bodies get in a certain mode, and it's easy to get tired. People are eating too many carbohydrates, they're having sugar spikes. So why are you picking on sleep, Sina?
It's a great question. So there's a guy at Stanford, he's known as the father of modern sleep medicine, Dr. William Dement. He talks about what he calls the Triumvirate of Health. So sleep, diet, and exercise.
Yeah.
It's one big system, right? So any one of those that's off, it's going to have consequences.
And that's interesting because a lot of us in the fitness sector, we're always focused on coming up with better workouts, tuning our diets, getting the diet, and really looking at those two aspects. I think sleep is something I haven't heard too many of my friends say, hey, what's your sleep pattern on, is you getting ready for this comp? Or I changed my sleep and I'm performing better, or I changed my sleep and I'm losing body fat like never before. I mean, why don't we hear people talking like that?
So that's a really, really good question. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. Sleep has not been part of the conversation, not just with competitive athletes, but with doctors, with insurance companies, with every stakeholder in the healthcare world. So it's a newcomer. It's kind of it's not like cardiology that's been around for so long. So
yeah,
people are just starting to pay attention to it, and it does have massive consequences, and positive consequences too if you have good sleep.
Okay, so again, I want to really focus. People need to be focused on sleep. They need to be thinking or prioritizing sleep. So you're saying if you properly prioritize sleep, again, 7 to 9 hours, is that?
98% of people will be 7 to 9 hours. That's the recommended range for them.
And during that, if you're getting good sleep, you're actually going to be more productive during the day.
Absolutely. I mean, it just kind of makes sense. Everybody knows this. I mean, if you imagine, when you don't get a good night's sleep, the way you feel the next day, you're just not at your best, right?
Yeah, I have seen that.
So,
well, another interesting thing I have noticed, though, once in a while, if I don't sleep enough one night, I go to the gym, I'll be tired, I'll be not wanting to work out, but once I get to the gym, I start to push myself. I actually get an adrenaline rush, and I can hit pretty good lifts. But if I continue 1 or 2 more nights of not getting enough sleep, I can't lift. It just really falls apart. So is there a buffer where I can get away with it for 1 night, but not 3? Or something on that?
So yeah, what we're talking about, it's called sleep debt. So when you don't sleep the amount of sleep that you need, you go into debt basically. And over the short term, you can pay that off, but over the long term, you probably can't. So
what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking 10 minutes every day and put it to the side. By the end of the year, I'll have a couple weeks saved up.
If you can stick to it, that's great. There was a really interesting study where they took people and they deprived them of sleep for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And they had them get behind a wheel and drive a car in a contained environment, and they compared that with with people who were legally drunk.
Yeah.
Who do you think drove worse?
I actually saw that study, and the sleep deprived were worse than the ones who had been drinking.
So
what happens when you mix the two of them together?
Then forget about it. Yeah, it's bad news.
Okay, so let's talk about sleep debt. A lot of people, we work, busy day life, stressed, it's hard to get everything done. A lot of the viewers have children and they've got just these hectic lifestyles. They're really cramming. So can they make up for sleep once in a while? How about sleeping in on the weekend a little bit? Does that buy you anything?
So again, over the short term, you can pay off a little bit of sleep debt, but it's really difficult to study over the long term what happens with sleep debt. So we don't exactly know what happens if you're habitually sleep deprived.
Well, is it a sleep deprived of 5 days deprived and then 2 extra sleep?
So one of the kind of principles of sleep hygiene is you want to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time 7 days a week. And the reason for that is if you get out of a rhythm, your brain and your body get confused and they don't know when to expect sleep.
I thought I heard it's actually good to the earlier you can go to bed. So if you're getting a few hours before midnight, that's healthy, rather than going to bed getting your 8 hours after.
So everyone has, their own circadian rhythms. Some people are larks or they're morning people. Some people are owls. So that's okay. I mean, some people, they go to bed naturally earlier, some later. But the important thing is to make sure that the quantity and the quality are good.
Now, one thing I heard people can do is, if you don't sleep enough, you can get a nap. 20-minute nap will do a lot of good. Is that true?
I'm so glad that you brought that up. Okay, so the best thing to do is not to take naps if possible. However, if you need to take a nap, you want to keep them 20 minutes or less. And the reason for that is if you go longer than 20 minutes, you can enter different parts of the sleep cycle, which will confuse your brain. It'll make it tougher to sleep later in the day, and it'll disrupt your sleep actually later.
So if I sleep 5 hours one night, should I be getting 1 or 2 20-minute naps?
Yes, you can definitely do that. I would say obviously if possible, get more than 5 hours. But if you want to take a nap during the day, you can also time it with a circadian dip in the mid-afternoon that people usually have. So around 1, 2 o'clock, that would be a good time to take a nap.
So can you promote to the different companies around there that all these companies should be promoting their employees to take naps? And maybe they should trim their hour expectations down so people can sleep more and be more productive? What do you think?
Well,
should we start a new initiative?
Hey, great question. It's companies actually are starting to realize that, oh, wait a minute, so the way our people sleep affects how they perform at work. So it seems so simple, but it's just now starting to get attention in corporate boardrooms and decision makers. So people are actually, there's companies that have sleep pods and all kinds of stuff. So there are companies that are starting to wake up to sleep.
Wake up to sleep. Interesting term of words there. Now, have you found, I want to go back to, are there certain foods people should be eating at night to help?
So one of the things that is kind of well established is you want to have a buffer of about 4 hours between dinner and sleep.
See, that just doesn't happen for me, to be honest. I have a busy lifestyle. I get up in the morning. By the time I get off work, I go to the gym. It's pushing 9 o'clock a lot of times. By the time I come home, 8:39, I start making food. I eat food, and then half an hour later, I'm in bed. So is that interrupting my sleep, or?
Well, imagine you're telling your body, hey, you got to break down all this food right now, and you're trying to sleep. So your body's like, well, what should I be doing? So you can do an experiment. I mean, try eating earlier. Just somehow find the time to eat earlier and leave time before sleep, and see if that makes a difference. Do it for a few days and see if you notice a difference.
It's challenging to rearrange the schedules. You're introducing a massive challenge for myself and most of our viewers to get more sleep, to come up with a time for it, and also to reprioritize and move dinner forward. Darken the room, that's the easy one. Any more easy ones?
Yeah, set the room temperature to 65 degrees or even lower.
Yeah.
For most people, when you say 65, they kind of freak out a little bit because they're used to sleeping at warmer temperatures. But I say start with 65, see if you notice a difference. You probably will. And then maybe even ratchet it down a little bit and kind of play with it and see if you notice a difference. People sleep better generally in cooler temperatures. Sound, make sure there's no sound around you if possible. If you have pets, they should not stay in the bed with you.
Should I get the waterfall sound and play that, or the light rain sound and play that?
If it helps you, then that's great. Scientific studies have shown that it can actually interfere with your sleep.
Yeah.
But if it helps you to fall asleep, you can set it for like 30 minutes, help you fall asleep, and then it tunes out. And then the other thing is if you do that from a cell phone, make sure the cell phone is turned over so the light is not bothering your eyes.
Oh, I wanted to talk about that. Good, I'm glad you brought that up. What about using electronic devices? I mean, we're all connected now, so we want to check our emails before we go to bed. We want to be updating our online status. What about if I read a little bit on my tablet before I go to bed?
So
is that gonna hurt my sleep?
Yes. So there's two reasons for it. Again, the light from the device, whether it's a tablet or whatever, or television, computer, anything, it's going to stimulate.
How about a phone? It's smaller than a tablet.
Same thing. Even a little LED light is going to stimulate the center of your brain. It'll tell your brain, hey, it's, be alert, something's going on. It's a very powerful primal tool or cue that our brains are hardwired to respond to. So that by itself will disrupt your ability to sleep. And then it's the content of what you're looking at. So if you got an email, oh my gosh, now I'm thinking about what I got to do tomorrow, brain starts rushing, and it makes it really difficult to fall asleep.
Okay, so when do I need to set my phone down before I go to bed?
Thank you. I should have said that earlier.
How far? What you said? I'm supposed to be eating a few hours before. So can I set my phone 10 minutes before I go to bed?
1 hour before bed.
1 hour.
No television, no telephone, no iPad.
How about talking on the phone?
That's okay.
Texting?
Probably not okay. Because, again, the light plus the content.
So, no texting. All right. An hour before.
1 hour, yeah.
Yeah, that is another thing that's going to be very challenging for a lot of viewers, although perhaps rather accomplishable and easy to do once they get in the habit of it.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, what you're doing is you're training your brain to not sleep.
Yeah.
When it's looking at electronic stuff.
Yeah, because you get the excitement of the message, and you get curious, and plus it's easy to stay up later once you start. I could see that.
And then the other thing, just to add to that, sometimes people will keep their phones on, and next to them they'll wake up in the middle of the night and do texts, or the phone rings. So turn the phone either into airplane mode or turn it off. You can put it in the drawer. Sometimes that helps. So out of sight, out of mind. That's another kind of thing to do.
So you actually do that?
Oh yeah. Well, my phone is off or in a drawer.
Well, what if someone texts you and
they got to wait till the morning?
So you're used to having it where someone texts you don't respond till the morning.
Correct. Unless, I mean, if there's something going on that you're expecting, there might be some emergency or something, then that's different. But I also have a landline, so people that really need to reach me, they can reach me if they need to.
Well, they can always call you too if they really need to, and then on a cell phone at night.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got darken the room, cool the temperature, take a warm bath, eat dinner earlier if you can, and don't be looking at your cell phone, tablet, computer. How about a book, magazine?
Books are great. Now, if you want to get really kind of bonus points, you got to read stuff that is not exciting to your brain.
Well, that'll put you to sleep right away if you do that.
So that's a big one.
So pick up a boring textbook and start reading it.
Boring textbook. If you absolutely have to have some technology, one thing that I've learned recently that's kind of a cool thing is books on tape. So you can put the phone in the drawer, but have those things come to your ears, and you can listen that way. But again, it should be something that's not too activating for your brain.
Something that doesn't get you interested.
Yeah, if it's a murder mystery or some kind of dramatic thing, your brain is going to be chewing on that when you're trying to sleep, and that's kind of challenging. The other tip that I would say that I forgot to mention so far, and it's a big one, is caffeine.
Yeah, what about caffeine? We love our caffeine. Coffee in the morning, pre-workouts.
So coffee in the morning is a great thing. What the science has shown is that there's a half-life of about 7 hours for caffeine for most people. So within 7 hours of bed, you should not have any caffeine. That includes certain chocolates, that includes tea. And
even chocolate. So, I mean, I'll have some dark chocolate after dinner lots of times.
So it depends on how sensitive your body is to the chemicals in there and the caffeine. And the type of chocolate, but that can cause...
One little pointer I like to point out for people is you can actually eat grapefruit, which will prolong the half-life of caffeine. So that's probably a bad thing to have your cup of coffee and a grapefruit late in the afternoon, because that will prolong the release. But okay, how much caffeine are we talking about, too?
So different people have different sensitivities. 1 or 2 cups is generally regarded as okay, but beyond that, you're starting to get into dangerous areas.
So lower the caffeine, or if you take caffeine, take it earlier in the morning.
Yep.
and then cool the room down, quiet the room down, turn off electronics distractions. What about watching TV?
Ooh, that's a big one. So if you can, actually remove the TV from your bedroom. If you have one in the bedroom.
Yeah.
For the same reasons that a cell phone or a tablet.
Do you have many friends? I mean, come on, you're not on your TV.
It's something, you know, it's you got to do it. I mean, if you're serious about your sleep, these are all things that have been tried and true.
Now, for our athletes, again, how much, what kind of benefits are there? Are they going to get an increase in GH?
Okay, that's a big one. So I used to play football in college, so I'm familiar with sort of really hardcore athletes.
Yeah.
Human growth hormone is regulated during sleep. Matter of fact, it spikes around midnight. So if you want to maximize your human growth hormones naturally.
So you do have to be asleep before midnight, like I was saying before. If you want the maximum GH,
exactly,
which will help people be leaner and fitter.
Exactly, and also assuming that's consistent with your circadian rhythm. So if you're
okay.
So human growth hormone is regulated during sleep. So you want to make sure you have uninterrupted sleep.
We are winding down here. Are there any excellent resources out there where people can take a look if they, any nonprofit things you recommend people to read on?
National Sleep Foundation is a great starting point, and Harvard Medical School also has a sleep educational website.
So it should be proper sleep, diet, and then workout. And the three go together hand in hand.
The way that we, obviously we're biased, but the way we think of it is wellness rests on sleep. So it's kind of the foundation for a house type of thing.
Say that 10 times quick.
It's kind of a mouthful, but if you unpack it,
Well, we are out of time here. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to wish all of our viewers out there a good night and sweet dreams. Be sure to turn that TV off a little early. Finish watching this show an hour before you go to bed. Have that warm bath and then go to your cool room. Tuck in, enjoy the sleep, and get up in the morning and start your fitness program. Thanks again for watching. Go out there, get motivated, but remember, sleep too. Sweet dreams.